The Silent Fury, the Cursed Boy of Brussels, Brussels 1389. The cobbled streets of Brussels had grown eerily quiet as dusk fell, a thick fog wrapping itself around the city's ancient walls. A shadow lurked over the town, an unspoken fear. No one dared wander outside after the sun sank below the horizon, for tales of the cursed boy were whispered in hushed tones at every tavern, every hearth. They called him Le Fils Muet, the Silent Son, a child whose presence was marked by tragedy and inexplicable death. He was said to be no more than 5 years old, a frail figure in tattered clothes, his eyes hollow as if void of a soul. The only sound that ever accompanied him was the slow, deliberate trickle of water that seemed to follow wherever he went. The siege of 1389. Brussels had been under siege for weeks. Enemy forces camped beyond its walls. Panic was rife, supplies were dwindling, and rumours of dark forces were already spreading. Amidst the chaos, a strange discovery was made. In the dead of night, a small boy, unknown to anyone in the city, was found wandering near the gates, his hands and feet blackened with soot, his face twisted into an eerie, silent grin. The city guard took him in, but no one could get him to speak. The boy's eyes followed them, but he seemed to be looking past them, as though he were peering into something far more sinister. Some believed he had witnessed horrors too dark to recall. Others whispered that he was a spy, planted by the enemy, but the truth was far darker. The curse unveiled. That very night, the guards who found the boy were discovered dead, their bodies twisted and contorted, their faces locked in expressions of sheer terror. The only clue? Water. Their bodies lay in pools of it, though it had not rained in days. The boy vanished again. As the siege intensified, more deaths followed. Soldiers, townsfolk, even nobles, all found drenched, dead, with no signs of struggle except the unmistakable stench of stagnant water. Fear gripped the city. The once jovial streets of Brussels were now haunted by an unseen malevolence, and the townspeople began to connect the dots. Wherever the boy appeared, death followed. It was said that the enemy camp outside the city had begun to feel the weight of the curse too. Fires extinguished in an instant, weapons rusted overnight, and men were found dead in their tents, their bodies bloated as though they had drowned on dry land. And always that sound, the soft trickle of water just before tragedy struck. The final act. In desperation, the city's leaders sought the aid of a hermit, a sorcerer who lived on the outskirts, known for his knowledge of the arcane. His price was steep, but they were left with no choice. He performed a ritual in the dead of night, summoning forces beyond their understanding. The boy was found once more standing silently in the square, his feet damp, water pooling beneath him as his vacant eyes stared into the abyss. The sorcerer declared the child was no ordinary boy, but the manifestation of a curse placed upon Brussels by dark forces. The water that followed him, it was the essence of despair, drawn from the tears of the forgotten dead, the souls lost in wars and famine, seeking revenge on those who lived. The only way to break the curse, the sorcerer said, was to imprison the boy in stone, forever. The statue. The townspeople gathered in the square, their faces grim as the ritual began. With chants and ancient spells, the boy was slowly encased in stone, his small body frozen in time. As the final words were spoken, the stone child's face twisted into a grotesque smile, his body forever locked in the act of relieving himself, a cruel reminder of the water that had once been his curse. The statue was placed at the heart of Brussels, a grim symbol of the curse that had plagued the city. Though the deaths ceased, there was something unsettling about the statue. Locals said that if you listened closely at night, you could still hear the faint trickle of water, as though the boy's curse lived on beneath the stone. Some say the Manneken Pis is merely a relic of the past, a playful nod to the city's humour, but those who know the old tales, those who remember the cursed boy, will tell you it is far more than that. For in the dead of night, when the streets are silent and the fog rolls in, the faint sound of water can still be heard, echoing through the narrow alleyways. And if you listen closely, some say you can even hear the soft, chilling laughter of a boy long lost to time, his curse forever locked in stone.